And our thoughts are produced by neurons in our brain, which we don't control.
In this video, Mike argues that we can't have free will because our thoughts are caused by neurons firing in our brain, and these neurons are simply physical events which follow physical laws, so there's no way for them to be free. So what's the problem with this argument? Well, Mike is actually 100% correct in his reasoning if one adopts a materialistic view of the mind. However, I and most Christians, ancient and modern, don't hold to a materialist view of the mind. We hold to some form of dualism. If you don't know what these terms mean or why this matters, I'll give a brief explanation. There's an entire branch of philosophy called the philosophy of mind, which discusses what the nature of the mind is. In this field, there are several broad categories for how to view the mind. Two of the most dominant categories are materialism and dualism. Materialism holds that the mind is ultimately physical in nature. Let's turn now to dualism, specifically substance dualism. In contrast to materialism, which says that humans are just one thing, or material bodies, substance dualism holds that we are two things, an immaterial mind and a material body, thus the name dualism. Substance dualists believe that the mind is a separate substance from the body. A dualist might compare the body to a piano and the mind to a piano player. Or in another analogy is that of a car and a driver. The mind operates the body just as a driver operates a car. It's hopefully clear now why Mike's argument does not apply to dualists such as myself, as we simply reject the notion that a thought is reducible to or determined by some physical event in the brain. And as much as I'm sure that Mike, as a layman, is likely to rant and howl about his position is somehow untenable in light of modern neuroscience, the unfortunate truth for him is that substance dualism is completely consistent with all the data we have regarding the brain, as neuroscience only shows correlation between physical states and mental states. John Eccles was a Nobel Prize-winning neuroscientist who has defended dualism, as did the neuroscientists Walter Penfield and Matthew Stafford. Research psychologist Jeffrey Schwartz has been an outspoken advocate for dualism. Many dualists defend their position in light of modern neuroscientific data. For instance, see Riccardo Manzotti and Paulos Moderato's paper titled Neuroscience, Dualism in Disguise, in which they argue that neuroscience as a discipline is based on a dualistic framework. Similarly, studies from Henry Wellman, Jesse Bering, and David Bjorklund have shown that dualism is the default understanding of the mind. To summarize this section, if you try to use science as an argument against dualism, you're going to lose. Not only is dualism compatible with modern neuroscience, we have good philosophical reasons for preferring substance dualism over the various forms of materialism. In my book recommendation video, I mentioned a book called Philosophical Foundations for a Christian Worldview. It has a section discussing the various arguments on this topic. Or J.P. Moreland, who wrote the section on dualism in that book, has a standalone book called The Soul, How We Know It's Real and Why It Matters. This is a very good introductory level book for anyone who doesn't have a background in philosophy of mind.